Good evening, I'm Phoenix. Welcome to Minor Piece Theater. Tonight is episode 3 of our 4-part series called I Creatively Procrastinate from the NaNoWriMo Creative Writing Challenge, in which I am enrolled this month through taking part in a little bit of literary nonsense with all of you. Apologies that tonight's episode is a little late in airing. As it turns out, there are some things in life, such as report cards, that cannot be procrastinated from, no matter how skilled one is getting at procrastinating. But now that last week's tasks are complete, and this week's writing is presently looming, needing to be done, it is time to bring you another piece of flash fiction. Last week I asked you the question, what if? The winning response took a slightly more thought-provoking and somber path than I had been anticipating, and I look forward to sharing it with you tonight. So please fill your glass with whatever suits your fancy, pull up a comfortable chair, and let us settle in to the 1,000-word tale titled The Minotaur of M.A.Z.E. He was not the most conventional co-worker, but who was I to judge? HR decided we needed to diversify our staff, and diversify we did. Elves, dwarves, the odd werewolf. And then there was Asterion. It was well past break time at Modern Analytics and Zephron Engineering, nicknamed M.A.Z.E. for short. And after hours untangling code and sorting winding pathways of the new computer system we were tasked with creating, I was looking forward to some peace and quiet. Which meant I was a little less than enthused to find the staff table already occupied by our newest employee's hulking form. Asterion's massive shoulders were slumped. His shaggy head bent so low his horn tips almost rested on the table. Soft, snuffling sounds filled the air, punctuated every few breaths with a heavy sigh. I hesitated, debating whether to slip away before he saw me, but my heart got the better of me, and I tentatively stepped through the door. "You okay?" I asked. The chair creaked as Asterion stiffened, his giant head snapping upwards, nearly missing the fluorescent light hanging above him. He pawed one hand over his eyes and pulled a surprisingly delicate handkerchief from his dress shirt pocket, dabbing at his muzzle. "I'm sorry," he snuffled. "I thought everyone had gone back to work." "They have, mostly," I said, inching my way toward the coffee pot. There had been a lot of discussion around the water cooler the day we learned the infamous Minotaur of the M.A.Z.E. would be joining our ranks. Asterion had quite the reputation, and with deadlines looming and delicate equipment constantly moving from one sector to another, the last thing we needed was a rampaging bull in our china shop. He stood, a horn colliding with the lamp as he did so. He tried to catch it, but it slipped through his fingers and smacked him in the forehead. It was too much, and he burst into tears, collapsing back into the chair with his huge head on his arms and broad back heaving with sobs. I froze, staring, then reached for the coffee pot and carried it and a fresh mug to the table, taking a tentative seat. There, I said, cringing at the cliché. I reached out and patted his hand, surprising him enough that he stopped crying and raised bleary eyes to mine. With tear-stained fur, downward-turned ears, and a quivering chin, he hardly looked the intimidating monster I had expected by our colleagues' descriptions. "Are you okay?" I asked, forgetting I was supposed to be scared. "Oh, yes, thanks for asking," he snuffled. "I'm sorry to be like this. It's just been so hard." A large tear spilled from his eye and splashed on the table. "Do you want to talk about it?" I asked. "No, I don't want to make trouble," the Styrian whimpered. "It's just, when I was offered this position, the chance to get off the night shift and work with other people rather than patrol the corridors all by myself, well, I was so excited. But now that I'm here—" Another sob rolled over him. My mouth made a silent "oh," as guilt over my initial reaction reared its ugly head. "I'm sorry," he apologized again. "I'm not normally like this. You probably came here looking for some peace and quiet, and here's the new guy pouring out his heart to you." I smiled, more genuinely this time. "The transition hasn't been easy, huh?" "No," the Minotaur agreed. "My team's terrified of me. They whisper when I'm in the other room, and they keep their distance as if afraid I'll turn into a raging monster at any minute. I've tried giving them time to adjust, but it only seems to be getting worse. I don't know what else to do. I just want to do a good job, but it almost seems I am causing more delays by being here than helping to speed things up." I poured some coffee into my mug, then reached over and refilled the one next to him. He looked a little surprised, and managed a soft smile. "Well," I admitted, "we were all a bit unsure what to expect when we heard you were coming on staff." He gave a small laugh. "Oh, I can imagine. The stories terrified me, and I was the one they were supposed to be about." I chuckled, any lingering fear slipping away as his eyes dried and he took a sip of coffee. The mug looked like a piece from a child's tea set in his giant hands. "Thank you," he said. "You're the first person I've met who doesn't seem to be scared being in the same room as me. It's really nice." "Ha! Well, I wouldn't say that," I replied, "but I will admit you're not exactly what I expected." "Well, that's a start at least," he said, draining his mug with one more swallow. "Look," I said presently, "I'm sorry your teammates are jerks. Is there anything I can do?" He shook his head, careful this time not to hit the lamp. "I'll muddle through," he said. "But maybe—" he hesitated, biting his lip, hardly meeting my eyes. "Maybe we could meet up again tomorrow, when I'm not such a soggy mess." "Yeah, I'd like that," I answered, and to be honest, I actually meant it. He smiled deeper, then stood, and with a nod, left the break room. I sat in silence, staring at my coffee cup. There are times when a matter of minutes is just long enough to change your life, and that had been one of those moments. Asterion the Minotaur, not a raging, ravenous beast like rumors suggested, but a passive, sentient creature with a tender heart. I stood, dumping my untouched coffee into the sink, and headed back to my cubicle, my mind a little more open than when I left, and my ears forever a little less quick to accept what they were told through hearsay alone. That concludes the flash fiction piece, The Minotaur of M.A.Z.E. Thank you so much to all those who played along by leaving me your what-if questions. For our final episode of the series, I would love if everyone could leave me 5 nouns each in the comments. They can be as random and obscure as you would like them to be. I will take all the nouns suggested and stitch them into my last piece of flash fiction to be aired on November 30th, the last day of the NaNoWriMo Challenge. Until then, good night and good week. And thank you once again for joining me.